All right, remaining schedule. At the Dolphins, host the Vikings, who are not for real, and then the Lions, who sneaky are.
Yeah.
Nick, are you buying that the Packers have a shot at this thing?
No, okay. Not at all. And by the way, I'm not trying to pick on Aaron after one of their rare victories, but that's another press conference where it's just not accurate. Where he's like, basically everything went our way, except for the fact that the Lions have not lost in the last 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. The Lions are on a longer winning streak than you, and the Lions are ahead of you in the standings. The Lions have already beaten you, and the Giants just won. But this was why the whole mathematically eliminated crutch was always going to be nonsense. Because we are headed into week 16, correct? Mm-hmm. This is about to be week 16. If the Packers lose, and the Giants, who are ahead of them, and Seattle, who's ahead of them, and Detroit, who's ahead of them, all win, guess what? Still not mathematically eliminated.
Got a shot.
Still, they would be, according to our friends at 538, have a 0.2% chance, but not be mathematically eliminated. And that 0.2% is not much lower than the 6% they currently have, which is why, Brew, this is all an exercise in futility and a missed opportunity. They could have given Jordan Love a mini season. They could have said, hey, we have a bye and then 4 weeks against decent competition. Not the Rams so much, but the rest of the slate. And the Rams defense is still legitimate. We're going to let you get your first live NFL action. Our season is lost. Let's salvage something from it so we can make an informed decision, not just on your fifth-year option, but on your future. If it's right now, if it's down the road, if it's with someone else, if it's with us, we will watch you play. Instead, they're holding on to the playoff hopes like a Powerball ticket. I guess, yeah, you have a chance, but it's not mathematically impossible, but it's not something you should base your retirement on. And so I think they have butchered this, and I think that win last night is actually more harm than good, but that's fine. We can play pretend for another week with Aaron Rodgers if he wants to.
All right, well, let me say this, Nick. I agree with you, and this pains me to say because I did pick the Packers
to go to the
reach
Super
the
Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All right, not to win it, but to reach it.
Yeah.
All right, one of the rare things I've been wrong on lately. World Cup, World Series, NBA Finals. Yeah. But anyway, they won't make the playoffs.
You don't say.
That said, Nick, this is the attitude I want from my team leader.
Exactly.
It's easy for us as pundits and prognosticators and sometimes smart Alex to get on TV and write a team off. I mean, seriously, though, if I'm in that locker room and I am shedding blood and tears in the weight room, on the practice field to make the playoffs, I want to hear my leader not give in, not throw in the towel. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers has been a great leader in his career. You know that. I've said that. But this attitude he has is what you want.
That's fine, but it shouldn't be his call. But Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur should have taken this out of his hands. I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers should have handed the reins over to Jordan Love. It'd have been nice. It would have been nice to be like, 15 years ago, that's literally exactly what I prayed every night Brett Favre would do for me, but I'm not going to do it. Fine, he doesn't have to. The adults in the room, it's their job to do it.
Gutekunst said, a couple weeks ago, they've seen enough. He said we know enough about
But that's also
Jordan
poor
Love.
management.
3 years of practice. I mean, you should know whether the dude can play. And I know it's a small sample size that you can't take to the bank. But he did look good against Philadelphia in that, little run he had for Aaron Rodgers.
But my point, Wildes, is what if he came out this next month and was phenomenal, was utterly phenomenal?
Okay.
Then at the very least, you have an amazing trade chip.
But why would you want to trade him?
Okay, well, if
he sits one more year behind Aaron Rodgers, and then you got a phenomenal replacement.
Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't, but you would have information. They are depriving them. There is the Packers for the last 2 weeks, Wildes, have had a box at one Lambeau Way, a box with no lock on it, and there's all this information about the future of their team in it, and they're not opening it. Because Aaron Rodgers wrote him a little note that said, please don't open. They're like, don't want to hurt his feelings. And that is not a way to run a business.
You know what?
You have the availability.
I hope they make the playoffs just because of Nick's take.
So here's their playoff scenario. Okay. There's a lot of paths there. Okay. Here's one that Josh...
that all has to happen?
Yeah. Well, Josh, there's several, but this is one. I'm not going to read it. You can pause your DVR and read it at your leisure.
I barely see it.
But that being said, I would rather have Aaron Rodgers recite that in the locker room than say, you know what, guys? Jordan Love deserves a shot. I'm headed to Peru. Like, that's not how it should be.
Amen.
He has said some weird stuff. He has said some stuff that deserves criticism. I want to play until we're mathematically eliminated. Is not one of them.
My heaviest criticism here is for the organization. What is the Green Bay Packers' responsibility? To try to compete for championships, right?
That's what they're doing.
No.
Right. Can they throw in the towel? How's that look to the players in the locker room?
Okay, first of all, we're in this weird spot where we've seen enough from Jordan Love to pick up a $20+ million guarantee, but playing him in football games is throwing in the towel. And just to be clear, that's what you guys are arguing. That by playing the guy who they don't need to see play in order to hand him the keys to the franchise, they're giving up.
And he's got a broken thumb.
I'm not arguing that. And so you have a near 40-year-old quarterback having the worst year of his career with a broken thumb. Mm-hmm. Playing the guy who we know we're confident enough to give the keys to the franchise to is the same as forfeiting. That strikes me as odd. That strikes me as a little illogical, but I'll follow you down that path. So be it. The other part of it, though, is the world does not end for the Green Bay Packers after this season. They are in a better position in every aspect to win a Super Bowl next year, no matter who their quarterback is, by letting Aaron Rodgers heal, by letting the receivers get some rapport with the guy who might play for them next season, by learning if there is a big thirst around the league for Jordan Love, whether that means they want to keep him or trade him. It is irrational behavior. And I'm not advocating the NFL teams do what the Oklahoma City Thunder have done, which is do a multi-year tank and play only young players. But when you are down to a roulette wheel spin chance of making the postseason, to not play a guy who you have to make a critical decision about for over the last month of the season is bad management. It is bad management that they will regret. There is no doubt about it to me.
I like that hair move that you did.
Sorry,
I disagree with it, but the hair move was sick.
He practiced that all last night. He was in the mirror.
Cool. Hey, Baker completed 12 passes for 111 yards, sacked 5 times, hit 9 times, behind an offensive line that struggled all year and lost their center during the game. From heroics to mediocre, Brew, what was your take on Baker's performance?
I'm excited to hear
All I could think about last night watching Baker Mayfield was Nick Wright.
Thanks,
Nick Wright sitting right there telling us, I've never been wrong about a quarterback.
Well,
and you loved Baker Mayfield, and you had jumped off the bandwagon smartly. All right? But then he goes out, and I'll admit, you saw me on here, a week and a half ago,
made you openly
clapping.
weep.
You said
yes,
you
I was choked up. I didn't say I cried. I was choked up. I'm choked up thinking about the performance. It was a great performance. It was a fairy tale.
Yeah, I know you're crying about it.
But here's the thing. We don't believe in fairy tales. At least we don't on this side of the table.
Oh, now you got me back.
Believing Baker Mayfield was back. Because of that Hollywood script show that happened 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, is Jonas Valanciunas, Nick, had 37 and 18 last night. I guess he's going to do that or close to it. 30 and 15 the rest of his career, right? Latavius Murray rushed for 130 yards. I guess he's going to do that for the next 2 years, right? That's what it was like to say, yes! I'm back on Baker Mayfield's bandwagon. I love him. You had left it. You had scored him.
Sad.
So no. Okay. And Nick, here's the thing, because that was a lot of histrionics. But I got a graphic for you. I got a graphic for you. Okay.
Oh, okay. Let me see
this
the graphic.
Proves that.
Oh, that's not funny.
I didn't even know that was
not funny. You did the whole thing. You were like,
I didn't know that was coming. I did not know that was coming. I'm sorry.
On this side of the table, I got.
Well, I didn't ask you to put it in there.
Nick got in there somehow. Look, Nick.
Yeah.
That proves, this graphic proves that what you saw from Baker last night is what Baker is now. Okay. All right? The completion percentage with Carolina this season, 6 games, 57%. Okay. Last night, 57%. Yards per pass,
I can read.
6 to 5. Touchdown to interception ratio.
I've got a very similar graphic.
Right? I mean, come on. What we saw last night is what Carolina saw for 6 games.
So he's done.
That's
so
Baker.
He's done.
He's done.
As I said,
he's a backup.
No, as a starter,
hopefully. Well, like I said, he's got to learn behind a legitimate
But that's
starter.
the same thing that I said
and
last
then
week.
maybe in the future
I agree with you, but
he can start
he
again.
could sit under Stafford.
You
next
didn't. You
year.
were singing praises.
Yeah, I
last
was
week.
singing praises because, silly me, I saw a guy have the longest game-winning drive in the final 2 minutes in the 101-year history of the league, and I was like, oh, that was pretty good. It was so good that it might make a lifelong Baker Mayfield hater like the one sitting across from me come to tears about it. I don't know. But my answer is, did Baker show his true colors last night? Baker showed the colors of Rams starting quarterback behind this offensive line with no Cooper Kupp.
That's right.
I've got, I think, a more telling graphic. Baker last night and Matt Stafford's last
Every
full
time
game.
a real graphic hits.
Matt Stafford's last full game as a starter. They're the same thing. Baker threw a pick, Stafford didn't. But Baker completed more than half his passes. Stafford did.
Yep.
They both get sacked almost half a dozen times. It's almost like the reason the Rams can't compete at all is because the offensive line's broken, they don't have a running game, and Cooper Kupp's been out. So I am not going to write off Baker Mayfield entirely. However, the football gods do smile upon us. And I am not guaranteeing anything because that offensive line is quite bad.
Oh, we're talking about Christmas Day?
Do either one of you know? Do you know what quarterback matchup we get next week?
I'm in the dark.
Baker. Oh, you're in the dark?
Yeah.
I'm shocked you haven't built your Christmas Day plans around it because it's Baker Mayfield against Russell Wilson on Christmas Day. And I'm just curious, Drew, just honestly, before we move on.
It's going to be an ugly game. Let's put it that way.
I'm just very curious.
3-2.
Because you just spent all that time destroying poor Baker Mayfield. Right now, this moment, if the NFL created their version of the Allen Houston amnesty provision, and you could trade with no cap ramifications.
Oh, so contracts, no issue.
No. Yeah, right. You don't take any dead money from a trade, but you have to keep the contract if you keep them. Would your Broncos trade Russell Wilson for Baker Mayfield?
Well, just so they don't have to pay Russ $165 million.
Okay. All right. Well,
that's not fair. If you ask me who's better,
No.
I still
would the Broncos
say Russell
rather
Wilson
have
right
Baker
now.
Mayfield on his contract or Russell Wilson on his? I'm just curious. Because I'm a Baker guy, you're a Russ guy. I'm just curious.
Russ has to win that game.
It's all about next year for Russ.
It's
all Russ. Don't worry about it.
Says who?
Let's ride in 2023.
Why did you?
Let's ride.
The full Aaron Rodgers thing, Carpe Diem. Hey, can the Eagles upset the Cowboys?
Why is it about next year?
It is next year.
Next year?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.